The unprecedented Alabama Supreme Court ruling that embryos are considered children and that those who destroy them can be held liable for wrongful death has major implications for many families who are trying to conceive through IVF, including military families who often don't get to choose where they live. One military couple, Julie Eshelman and her husband, are among many couples facing uncertainty after this ruling. They conceived their 2.5-year-old daughter through IVF and kept their frozen embryos in storage, hoping to use them in the future. But with them potentially being redeployed to Alabama, their ability to build their family through IVF may be on shaky ground. For more, I am joined by Julie Eshelman herself. Julie, I appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
And Julie, I know you and your husband are in Pennsylvania. He's in the military, and I understand you are still waiting for your orders on where you will be moving this summer. What would you think about being redeployed and moving to a state like Alabama?
Considering this ruling, we have a lot of concerns. There's a lot of unanswered questions and implications for, whether we would be able to pursue IVF. I mean, I know there are a lot of people speaking out in support of IVF right now, but until there's a law protecting IVF, I don't know that I would really feel safe moving our embryos anywhere.
Yeah, I appreciate this perspective, and also just look at these photos of your daughter. She is so cute, I have to say, and such a miracle for you and your family. I know IVF is an expensive process. It is an emotionally taxing process. And Julie, I know that this family building journey, it spanned 8 years. There were 3 IUIs, 4 miscarriages, 1 IVF cycle, 2 transfers. Is the ruling in Alabama an extra layer of stress that you did not see coming?
It most certainly is. When I first saw the news break, my heart just kind of sank because I knew what the implications to IVF would mean. As we've seen in Alabama this week, with the clinics closing down and, they're stopping shipments for embryo transportation and all of that. I mean, it reminds me of when COVID happened and the world shut down and we were getting ready to do a 4th IUI and the world stopped. And so, I empathize with these families, what they're going through. And, it's not something I ever really thought would happen again, after COVID. And now all of a sudden, there's a new layer of stress and complication and things that families, not only in Alabama, but across the country are watching, and waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, a worry that I don't think was even remotely on your radar, and so many families in this boat. Let's talk very quickly about the issue of liability, because it's interesting. This decision in Alabama does not actually ban IVF. But if frozen embryos are considered children, clinics and doctors may not want to offer IVF. Many have already paused this if they could be held liable when a transfer isn't successful. Not to mention the issue of the inability to ever discard an embryo, having to store embryos indefinitely, potentially. Can you talk about the impact that this might have on your own IVF journey? Would you potentially not be able to use those embryos if you moved to Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of uncertainty and a whole lot of questions and, a whole lot of things that we would have to consider and decisions that, we've already made or, that we're now forced to make new decisions. It adds stress and additional layers to an already complicated and taxing, process. When you undergo fertility treatments, whether you're doing that alone or you're doing that with a partner or spouse, there's a lot of considerations and a lot of tough conversations that you have to have. And, I'm not looking forward to having to have more of those conversations, depending on where the Army sends us and, what becomes of this ruling.
Yeah, and I know you're still waiting for those orders to come down in the coming months. We'll be thinking of you. Julie Eshelman, I appreciate you sharing some of your story and perspective on this. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.